Public interaction on music licensing will begin shortly as efforts begin to boost the management system for the creative industries on St. Kitts and Nevis. On 13th October 2022, the Intellectual Property Office of St. Kitts and Nevis and the Ministry of the Creative Economy hosted a press conference, in effect launching the series of activities for public awareness and stakeholder participation. According to an official, the measures are about bolstering the creative industries on St. Kitts and Nevis, in this case, the music industry. Attorney General Garth Wilkin was among several speakers commenting on the matter.
It is time for us as a nation to respect the rights of our creatives and to participate collectively in ensuring that creatives can profit from their creativity. But we also have to respect the business endeavors of event promoters, radio station owners, bar owners, restaurant owners, and others who wish to make a living and create jobs and work for our people in the entertainment sector. In my personal opinion, music rights organizations like ECHO came into St. Kitts and Nevis like a bulldozer. I don't know if many of you have seen the movie Avatar, when the humans literally bulldoze the aliens' lands in search for precious substances. I have told ECHO that. They have disagreed. We have agreed to disagree. What we are now focusing on is finding a sweet spot in our country where creatives can make a living from their creativity and people in the entertainment industry can make a living from their businesses, where creatives' rights can be protected and the rights of business owners can be protected. Why fight when we can find a diplomatic, mutually beneficial solution? This is the approach that led to this press conference today and the public consultations to come. Our 22-year-old creative rights protection regime must now mature and blossom into a responsible adult. With Gian Williams, the able registrar of intellectual property at the helm, we are heading in the right direction. With the support of the Ministry of Entertainment, ECHO, we can do this the right way. I encourage all bar owners, all party promoters, all carnival bands, all restaurant owners, all hotel operators, all radio station owners, all persons who are interested in learning about intellectual property rights and how collective management organizations work to come out on Tuesday, November 1st at 6 p.m. here at NEMA to air your views and listen to the opinions of the various stakeholders.
Also making presentations at the press conference were Gian Williams, the Registrar of the Intellectual Property Office of St. Kitts and Nevis, Ms. Valerie Francis, the Director of the St. Kitts and Nevis chapter of ECHO, and Samuel Duggins, the Minister with responsibility for the creative economy. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
The IMF Annual Meeting Report on SK Newsline is brought to you by the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank and Hope Economics.
Mimi, what's that song? There is no better time to discover what your National Bank Visa debit card can do. It can get you out of a pickle. Using my National Bank Visa card is fast, secure, and convenient.
Cashless SKN is our new lifestyle choice. National Bank, always here.
I'm Andre Huey of SK Newsline here at the IMF headquarters, the International Monetary Fund headquarters in Washington, D.C., reporting on the IMF and World Bank annual meetings 2022. The first one they're having face-to-face in more than 2 years, as they would have had to schedule virtual meetings over the last couple of years due to the COVID-19 crisis. Well, today in our report, we're going to be focusing on an interview we had with the governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Timothy Antoine, who's actually here. He's participated in a number of sessions here at the IMF annual meetings. One of those meetings was a meeting of Caribbean leaders, Caribbean prime ministers, ministers of finance, and various officials from various countries in the Caribbean. It was a closed-door meeting, so it wasn't open to the media, but we've had a chance to speak to him after that meeting to get a synopsis or an idea of what was actually discussed at these sessions. Now, one of the things he spoke about was, of course, the importance of the Caribbean economies to strengthen against any possible recession that may be on the horizon. He did point out that at this stage, however, the countries in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, they're not projecting a recession at this point in time.
We are not at this stage projecting a recession. We're still projecting growth next year. We are still recovering from COVID. Tourism is rebounding very well. Frankly spoken, the difficulty with tourism is really air connectivity, as in regional air transport. If we had better connectivity arrangement, we'll be doing even better on tourism and overall economic growth. But what is happening with inflation is definitely putting a damper on things. And so we expect to grow next year, but not as fast as we had originally hoped. Next year, at the moment, we're still forecasting 5%. We will revise that towards the end of the year. So I'm not in a position to say what that target or number will be. But in the ECCU, we still expect growth next year.
However, the governor pointed out that the meetings they've had so far have focused intensely on inflation and how the global inflation, the impact it's having on Caribbean economies. And also they've been looking at financing climate action. This is one of the major topics being discussed here because climate change, as we know, has a great impact on small island developing states. And the governor would have made some overtures, so to speak, on behalf of Caribbean countries as it relates to climate financing. So he gave us a synopsis of some of the general ideas that have been discussed in the meetings so far.
Inflation. Without a doubt, inflation has been the most talked about issue. I think everywhere around the world, countries large and small are grappling with this issue of inflation, cost of living shock. We're very concerned about the impact of food prices on the most vulnerable, our people, and of course the price on energy. So the discussion has been about what can we do to try to manage this as quickly as possible. Clearly, the central banks, the major central banks, have a role in respect of raising interest rates to get inflation down. There is a concern that as they do that, they could bring on a recession, which nobody wants, and we are already seeing the global economy slowing. So there's a lot of discussion about how to do this without landing the global economy in a recession. It's not easy. It's a very narrow path, and there is going to be, as you saw from the forecast from the managing director of the fund this week, there will be a slowdown, and in some countries, it looks like there'll be a recession.
Now we will present you more of our conversation with the governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank in subsequent reports. We also will be providing in our next report an update on the state of the economies in the Western Hemisphere. The Western Hemisphere Department of the IMF will be having a press conference later today. And of course, we will be posing questions specifically about St. Kitts Nevis. And as I indicated earlier, we will also try and get an interview with someone from the IMF that deals directly with St. Kitts Nevis so we could get some more insights into the projections and the prognosis of the St. Kitts Nevis economy. Coming to you from the IMF headquarters in Washington, D.C. For SKN Newsline, I'm Andre Huey.
Your vehicle is very important to you. That's why you should ensure it gets the best service and care possible only at IAS Diagnostic Center, located at Bird Rock behind the Life Fitness Center gym. Come to IAS Diagnostic Center for wheel alignment, rotor cutting, AC servicing, wheel balancing, oil filter change, diagnostic, tire repair and sale, tinting, and much more. With top-of-the-line equipment, come to IAS Diagnostic Center in Bird Rock. Opening hours Monday to Friday 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Call 767-4422, 662-4416 or 466-6708. IAS Diagnostic Center for quality care of your vehicle.
Smart and Island Electronics brings to you the Super Summer Cool-On Sale from July 21st until October 30th. Get amazing discounts on the widest range of gadgets, electronics, and appliances. But because it's summer, you get double discounts on all fans, refrigerators, and air conditioners. And don't forget to ask about our easy layaway plans. Good news for the people of Nevis. Smart Electronics is coming to Nevis at a convenient location just opposite Best Buy. So visit our stores at Smart Electronics on Port Zonte and Island Electronics on Ford Street. Terms and conditions apply. Our COVID-19 protocols will be observed.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips. Nestled between evergreen mountains and the Caribbean Sea on the island of St. Kitts is the Millhouse Guest House and Convention Center. With breathtaking views, a rugged, beautiful shoreline, and immaculate manicured gardens make this the perfect location for your holiday, event, or wedding. With a large convention center, apartments with balconies providing stunning views, and a secluded cottage for larger family groups or honeymooning couples looking for some privacy. We have something for everyone. Book your stay at www.millhouseskn.com or visit our Facebook page, the Millhouse Guest House and Convention Center, an oasis of tranquility.
On the matter of domestic abuse and violence, Premier Mark Brantley called on the public and the police to do more and make significant improvements to the situation on Nevis and the country in general. Speaking on his weekly call-in talk show On the Mark, the Premier was of the view that some cultural beliefs on love and relationships must be condemned and must not be encouraged.
If you say you're in love with your partner, then treat them with love. People who love people don't abuse them. And that is the simple truth. We have in this culture a notion of, oh, if he no hit me, he no love me. This kind of foolishness that we say. These things need to stop. These things need to stop. And I think all of us need to condemn it. Stop cuddling people who engage in this type of behavior. When they come to the rum shop and they're drinking the rum and they just beat up the wife or the woman at home, tell them you don't want to associate with them. It is not macho behavior, it's childish behavior, it is stupid behavior. And let us call it for what it is. And these people need to be locked up. The police need to get involved and the community needs to cooperate with the police to make sure that these people are treated with the harshest possible penalties. A lot of people are suffering in silence on this island and in this country and in our region. A lot of people have been suffering for a long time. And I believe it is high time that we bring an end to domestic abuse and domestic violence wherever it is happening. And it happens in low places, it happens in high places. It happens in poor families, it happens in wealthy families. There's no section of the society which is immune from this type of behavior. And I want to condemn it unreservedly.
The Premier made his comments in the wake of recent cases of domestic abuse and violence. Glenn Bart reporting for SKN Newsline.
Latin America and the Caribbean economies have recovered to their pre-pandemic levels, and the region has regained some sense of normalcy, according to a recent World Bank report. However, the World Bank warns that economies need to be reignited in order to avoid a new low-growth cycle. Social and infrastructure investments can be key drivers of growth and shared prosperity, according to the report entitled New Approaches to Closing the Fiscal Gap. The report of estimates regional GDP will grow by 3.0% in 2022, a higher than previously expected rate due to rising commodities prices. However, strong global uncertainty as a result of the war in Ukraine, higher interest rates in developed countries, and the persistent inflationary pressures will impact economies in the region. Low growth rates of 1.6 and 2.3 are expected in 2023 and 2024, respectively, similar to the lackluster levels of the decade of 2010 and insufficient to achieve significant progress in reducing poverty. Inflation, while for most countries is at OECD levels, will require continued efforts to reduce to previous target levels. Most economies have returned to pre-pandemic levels, but that is not enough. Countries in the region have opportunity to rebuild better after the crisis and achieve more just and inclusive societies, said Carlos Felipe Jaramillo, World Bank Vice President for Latin America and the Caribbean. In addition to undertaking the reforms and investments critical to lifting growth, governments need to address the structural costs, the lost years of education, missed vaccines, and the delayed impacts of food insecurity that the recovery of GDP obscures. The region is well placed to rethink its development path. Employment levels have almost fully recovered to pre-pandemic levels. Schools have reopened, and with exceptions in the Caribbean, the high rate of vaccination against COVID-19 allowed for a return to normalcy. However, scars from the crisis remain and need to be addressed. Monetary poverty fell from 30% in 2021 to 28.5% in 2022, a level still very high, and the long-term costs of the crisis in health and education must be urgently redressed, both to revive growth and mitigate increases in inequality. We will have more on the World Bank report in subsequent reports. This is Lavardo Cummings reporting for SKN Newsline.
Your vehicle is very important to you. That's why you should ensure it gets the best service and care possible only at IAS Diagnostic Center, located at Bird Rock behind the Life Fitness Center gym. Come to IAS Diagnostic Center for wheel alignment, rotor cutting, AC servicing, wheel balancing, oil filter change, diagnostic, tire repair and sale, tinting, and much more. With top-of-the-line equipment, come to IAS Diagnostic Center in Bird Rock. Opening hours Monday to Friday 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Call 767-4422, 662-4416 or 466-6708. IAS Diagnostic Center for quality care of your vehicle.
Smart and Island Electronics brings to you the Super Summer Cool-On Sale from July 21st until October 30th. Get amazing discounts on the widest range of gadgets, electronics, and appliances. But because it's summer, you get double discounts on all fans, refrigerators, and air conditioners. And don't forget to ask about our easy layaway plans. Good news for the people of Neves. Smart Electronics is coming to Neves at a convenient location just opposite Best Buy. So visit our stores at Smart Electronics on Port Zonte and Island Electronics on Ford Street. Terms and conditions apply. Our COVID-19 protocols will be observed.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
Auto Plus Car Wash, located on the College Street Gut, Bastille, St. Kitts. Bring your car to Auto Plus Car Wash to remove water stains, wiper marks. Get your doors, roof panel cleaned, seat floor mats, buffing, headlights, and engine wash. You get quality service at the best price at Auto Plus Car Wash. They really care for your car. Call 765-5140 or visit them on the College Street Gut, Bastille, St. Kitts. Auto Plus Car Wash, where the service is number one. If you're looking for a place to host that special event, conference, meeting, social event, party, whatever the occasion, your best option is the Millhouse Convention Center in Palmetto Point, St. Kitts. Located on the picturesque Garvey's Estate, the Millhouse Guest House Convention Center has enough space for outdoor events overlooking the Caribbean Sea. If you're looking indoors, the center is equipped with amenities needed to make your event a success. And by combining both spaces, you're sure to have a memorable event, no matter the occasion. Call the offices at Millhouse Guest House and Convention Center to book your next event on simply the most beautiful place in St. Kitts. Call 668-1392. Millhouse Convention Center at Garvey's Estate, Palmetto Point, St. Kitts. Making your event memorable.
Can you believe all the ings we can fit under one roof? We're here to help your small business any way we can.
This move has been the first of its kind in 14 years when the Commission banned daggering songs. Executive Director of the Commission, Cordell Green, says although he respects freedom of expression, there is still a need to ensure the airwaves are free of harmful content.
Amid what has been declared to be a shift so big in the Jamaican music landscape that it normalizes and glorifies drug use, scamming, and other illegal activities, the Broadcasting Commission on Tuesday issued a directive to ban from the airwaves all music promoting the aforementioned.
You have some people who are hell-bent on pushing the envelope, and there is nothing wrong with pushing an envelope. What is wrong is to push an envelope in an irresponsible way, and we have seen too many instances of that. When those things happen, a responsible regulator steps in and brings the ball back to the center unequivocally.
The executive director admits people may turn to online platforms to consume the content, as the Commission cannot regulate those mediums.
The social media aspect is outside the span of our control. This is something that many countries are wrestling with. Fake news, deep fake, disinformation, undermining democratic traditions. And the Broadcasting Commission has long said to the government, we need to define broadcasting in a way that is not based on technology. It has to be technology agnostic, and you need to look at content across platforms and devices.
Nonetheless, he says the Commission must still uphold its principles as the society's gatekeepers.
The fact that people have those options is not a basis on which to then seek to lower the bar or to seek to excuse and explain away violations of the regulation.
Edited versions of songs containing the prohibited lyrics have also been banned. Veronique Bowen, CVM Live.
Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre, ahead of the October 11th sitting of Parliament, disclosed the first reading of the legislation will be followed by a series of discussions leading up to the second reading of the bill. Within the next 90 days, St. Lucia will deliberate on the transition to the Caribbean Court of Justice as the country's final court of appeal in the place of the Privy Council.
The bill is going to have its first reading today. It's going to be a period of 90 days for further discussion for the second reading.
The announcement of the shift from the JCPC to employing the CCJ increased calls for a referendum on the matter. In an interview with a local online news publication, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines Ralph Gonzalez weighed in on the matter. Quote, unless pledges were made for that to be done, there is no particular reason why you should not have it in a referendum. Legally, there is no requirement in the case of St. Lucia for a referendum, just 2/3 majority in Parliament. Prime Minister Pierre also reminded citizens to not be swayed by the opposition's propaganda. He refuted UWP remarks that the bill would be passed on Tuesday, October 11th.
So we're not going to pass the CCJ bill today, as was said in UWP propaganda. That's not true. And again, you must never listen to propaganda.
St. Lucia will become the 5th country to make the switch in the next 90 days. Barbados, Belize, Guyana, and Dominica have all ditched the Justice Committee of Privy Council for the Caribbean Court of Justice. Chelsea Ostine, NBC Prime.
Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says he's determined to see Russian grain exported to low-income countries. He's met President Vladimir Putin on the sidelines of a regional summit in Kazakhstan. Erdogan says he wants to strengthen the Istanbul Agreement so poor countries get the grain and fertilizer they need. The Russian president also proposed setting up a regional gas hub in Turkey. We have two correspondents on this story. In a moment, we'll hear from Sinem Kosoğlu in Istanbul. But first, let's speak to Mohammed Val in Moscow. So what exactly are the Russians proposing when it comes to a gas hub, Mohammed?
Yes, Sami, President Putin proposed the creation of this gas hub for distribution of Russian gas from Turkey, saying that Turkey is a reliable partner and a partner that has the ability and the means to do this job. And also Turkey has the confidence of both sides, and it is well placed apparently to be this go-between between Russia and the European partners. Russia has been talking about this for some time as an idea, and it seems that it is well received in Turkey. The spokesman of the Kremlin spokesman, Dmitry Peskov, said later after Putin's statements that the two leaders are okay for an immediate start on that project, and also the two companies, Gazprom the Russian and Botas, the Turkish pipeline corporation, have even begun to talk about it, and they are also ready to launch such a project. It's not clear if this is going to be a new pipeline that is going to be constructed, no details about that yet, or is it going to be channeled through the Turk Stream, which is in the Baltic Sea. That's a Russian pipeline that takes gas from Russia to Turkey. So it's too early to have all those details, but it seems that the two sides are okay on this idea. And they also said, Peskov said that Russia and Turkey did not consult with the Europeans about it, and it is something decided only between Turkey and Russia.
All right, thanks so much, Mohammed Val. Let's bring in Sinem Kosoğlu. She joins us live from Istanbul. So let's start, first of all, Sinem, on that issue. How are Turkish officials reacting to Russian suggestions of a gas hub in Turkey?
Well, Sami, as my colleague also stated, Russian President Vladimir Putin has been saying this since yesterday. He spoke at an energy summit yesterday. And so far, we haven't heard anything from the Turkish officials yet. But of course, we don't know what is spoken behind the closed doors, especially, for instance, after this press conference, two leaders spoke for 1.5 hours. Turkey is already an energy transmitting center. It transfers energy from east to west, and this is one of Turkey's great plans to be a major hub for Europe. And there are already pipelines that are transferring different gas and oil from different companies. But of course, this is a very delicate issue for Turkey because we are talking about a new system that is going to provide Russian gas to the European countries. And the tension between the West and Russia is on the rise. The Europeans are desperate for cheaper energy, and President Putin stated that this can be also a good platform to review energy prices, which have skyrocketed. But apparently Turks and Russians are already studying on this matter to see how it can be handled. But definitely when it comes to energy and energy trade and the pipelines, there are so many regulations. We should also keep in mind that Turkey should consider possible sanctions from Europe because of the current tension that is going on between the West and Russia. So far, as I said, we haven't heard anything from the Turkish officials, but definitely they would try to take benefit of this as long as it is in line with Turkey's interest with the European Union and its relations with them.
All right, we have been hearing something, though, from Turkish officials when it comes to Russian fertilizer and grain. What exactly is Turkey proposing?
Well, Sami, when the UN-brokered Ukraine grain deal was signed back in July in Istanbul, another document was signed with the Russians separately from Ukrainians, which would allow Russian fertilizers and grains to be delivered to the world. And since then, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has been stating that the grains and fertilizers, Russian grains and fertilizers, should reach to the world market, especially to poorer countries first. And what Erdogan said today is not something new, but of course, this is also a good advantage for Turkish President Erdogan because the UN-brokered Ukraine grain deal gave him some credibility when it comes to his relations with the West, and those relations have been strained for a while, as we all know. So, and this can also create another chance for Turkish president to mediate between the West and Russia again when it comes to grain fertilizers. Also, regarding your previous question, let me say that President Putin, who's been stuck with the gas exports of his country, is also trying to give some leverage to the Turkish president so that he can have the leverage to mediate between the West and Russia, which can bring Erdogan more credibility.
All right, thanks so much. Sinem Kosoğlu there.
It's official. Defending SKNFA Premier League champions SL Horses St Paul's United will face Sol Island Auto Supply's Connery FC in the Super 6 finals slated to start on Saturday, October 15th. Both teams booked their spot after Saturday's Super 6 playoffs matches when Connery snatched a late 2-1 victory over former champions Ramsville Superstars, while St Paul's dispatched Flow 40K Rockets 4-1. Kadeen Lewis was the goal scorer for Connery in the 41st minute before Joseph Wilkes equalized in the 48th minute. It was Errol O'Loughlin who sealed the victory for Connery in the dying moments of the game, the third minute of stoppage time, to send Warner Park in a frenzy. Connery and Village suffered a major injury scare in the first half when Raheem Francis and Connery's captain Modasa Howe suffered a head injury during the match, causing a 24-minute delay. Eventually, Howe was taken via ambulance to the JNF General Hospital for treatment. Coach Al Richards of Connery said Howe's injury was a major blow for the team, but their performance was in dedication to him.
It was a big blow for us, when I said we captain us, so I senior player, but we grew up, I saw football at times, but we did it for him.
Meanwhile, the man who scored that pivotal goal to seal the win and the finals appearance for Connery, Errol O'Loughlin, said his goal is history repeating itself.
To be honest, it's history repeat itself. I mean, a couple of years ago, it was Village to beat to get in the finals, and guess who was the goal scorer in that game? So, I mean, that's motivation enough. Yeah, so, I mean, we did it for Madasso too, and the boat, the boy. I mean, this win means a lot. We're back in the finals.
Zikomo Konder, one of the coaches of Ramsville Superstars, said injury played a pivotal part in conceding the goal in the first half, but commended the players for coming through in the second half to get the equalizer.
The injury played a pivotal part in why we conceded the goal. I think the guys lost concentration for a little bit after the lengthy stoppage, and we weren't able to switch back on in time once the game started, and it cost us. But positive response in the second half. Proud of the guys. Sometimes the ball don't drop the way you want it to drop, but congratulations to Connery, and wish them all the best going forward.
As stated earlier, St. Paul's defeated Keon 4-1. Goal scorers Kalanji Clark scoring from the penalty spot in the 13th minute after Malik Roberts, the captain of Keon, denied a goal by handling the ball. He was sent off with a straight red card. Keith Roy Freeman scored a hat-trick in the 15th, 42nd and the 61st minute from the penalty spot. Carlos Berti scored the consolation goal for Keon in the 55th minute to make it 3-1, the scoreline. Manager of St. Paul's, Darian Edmead, said his team was warned to expect an attacking game from Keon, which they were prepared for.
Well, I mean, as you said, Keon came out and they did exactly what they were supposed to do. You mean, a team trying to get points, you expect them to come out hard. But that is something we spoke about in the locker room. Expect that type of pressure from Keon, and, the guys absorbed that early, and, what happens when you bring pressure? It bursts pipe. And, the pressure that they brought, we were able to expose some of the weakness in the field with all of those guys going forward.
Assistant coach of Keon, Jazza Buchanan, said they started the game well as planned, but made errors, including the red card from Malik Roberts, that placed the team under immense pressure.
St. Paul is a hard team. You slip, you made mistake, you get punished for that. Obviously, you're going to see it happen tonight. The chance we started to get too carried away. We start to play out of position, not listening, not communicating, and that kind of cost us in the first half. Then in that day we get the red card. It just like, some of the guys them hang their head down, but it's in football. But we had to go and still fight and still to try and come back up. When we get a little spirit there in terms of when we get a goal, a little spirit, we start to move the ball. We have to make some changes at halftime.
The finals will commence at 7 p.m. on Saturday at the Warner Park Cricket Stadium. After disappointing SKNFA Super 6 playoff performances, St. Peter's FC and Hobson Enterprises Garden Hotspurs ended their 2021 Premier League season on high notes in their last matches of the season. In both games, the teams came from behind to defeat their opponents, St. Peter's coming from 2-0 down in the first half to snatch a 3-2 victory against Flo Fujikeon Rockets. That win moved St. Peter's from the bottom of the table to finish the playoffs in 5th position, sending Keon down to 6th place. Carlos Bertie and Raheem Davis made sure Keon took an early 2-0 lead in the 24th and 26th minutes respectively. But in the second half, it was all St. Peter's. Kareem Simmons scoring in the 63rd minute, Silas Cannonier scoring a scorcher in the 72nd minute to tie the game at 2-2, and Deshaun Collins sealing the win for St. Peter's in the 82nd minute. Coach Anthony Nets Isaac said at halftime the players were motivated not to end the playoffs in the last position and came out much better in the second half.
As we sit there, we thought about it that we're not going to come last tonight. We're not going to come last. It's either we or them. So the guys them motivate themselves in just saying, well, we have to go out there and get at least 4 goals because we're not going to come last in this tournament here.
One of Keon's assistant coach, Valentine Anthony, said he believes the players lacked concentration in the second half, which led to the defeat.
Disappointed. Feel like the fellas them lack concentration there in the second half, and kudos to St. Peter's for getting back in the game and defeating us 3-2.
It's a lack of concentration. What you think would have caused that? You went back in the locker room being up. Why you think they lack concentration? You think because they were focused on being up 2-0 and hoping that St. Peter's won't be able to catch them up?
I think that is mostly it, and also probably some players feel like this was the last game of the season. They're just going out there to have fun, and but like I said before, we got to regroup and come again next season, and hopefully things work out for us.
Meanwhile, in the night's other match, the Spurs' comeback was a bit more eventful. They took the lead in the 5th minute from a Dajal Kelly strike, only for St. Paul's to equalize 2 minutes later through a thunderous Malik Clark strike. An error led to Clark scoring a second goal to give St. Paul's the lead, but Spurs were determined not to lose this match and were able to equalize in the 31st minute, again through Kelly. It then took a late strike from Shervin Allen in the 86th minute to give Spurs the victory. Coach Austin Huggins, in commenting on the match, said they really wanted to get the 3 points to get 3rd spot and give the fans something to cheer about.
And yes, tonight we really wanted to get the 3 points because there was a third place spot, and I think that we can't come thus far and don't carry home anything, even though we might not be able to carry home the big prize. We had to come out and play for the fans still, and with some pride and also sportsmanship to finish the tournament and just get ourselves together again for the next tournament.
For St. Paul's, this match was a consolation after already booking your spot in the finals. We heard from their manager, Darian Edmead.
Well, I mean, as you say, it's disappointing. You always want to come out of every game with a win. Fortunately for us tonight, we're walking away with a loss, but you see the type of team that we really fielded tonight, knowing that we are already secured our position in the finals on Saturday. But still, we were really hoping that we'd win the game tonight. It was a late last-minute goal, and you got to give Spurs because Spurs credit because they really had a lot to play for tonight.
With those results, Saul Island Auto Supplies Connery FC tops the table with 10 points, followed by St. Paul's United in 2nd place, 9 points. Both teams playing in the Super 6 finals, which will begin on Saturday.
In third spot, Garden Hotspurs with 8 points, Village Superstars with 5 points in fourth place, St. Peter's FC in fifth place with 5 points, but a lower goal difference than Village Superstars, and Keon Rockets FC in sixth place with 3 points.
Welcome to the SKN Newsline Weather Report. I am Janil Boole. Here is a look at the forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. For a more detailed weather report, visit our website at www.sknnewsline.com.